Shepard was asking for it for three.
Well, he felt it, didn't he? He was begging.
Oh, what a play by Matt Mitchell.
To Watson, sees a lane, takes it underneath. Montana three.
This is a clinic. This is Aztec basketball.
Welcome back. We are here with another episode of the Aztec Breakdown podcast. My name is Austin Bolton, and I will be your host today. You can follow me on all socials at It's Austin Bolton. And with me today is the incomparable Carly House Bolton. You can follow her on all socials at CarMcGee. And while we're just doing all the housekeeping, don't forget to follow Tron and the show at Aztec Breakdown, Kyle at Call Me Kinslow, and Jacob at Aztec Analytics. And don't forget to rate, like, and review wherever you get your podcasts. We love seeing the comments. Put them in there. Helps us out in the algorithm a little bit. And, we love engaging. So, Carly, how's it going? Good win last night. The Aztecs won 84-62. How you feeling?
Feeling good. I mean, this game had all of the ingredients for a classic kind of letdown, too close for comfort kind of game. Definitely was confident that we'd get the win, but I'm really glad that we pretty much dominated. A little slow start, but great score, cover the spread, take care of business. Road wins are hard to come by in the Mountain West.
Not to toot my own horn, but somebody may have called that it was going to be like tied at the 8-minute timeout, and I'm pretty sure the Aztecs were only up one.
Nice.
Oh, you didn't listen. You didn't listen to the last pod.
Okay, I was traveling for work. And I didn't listen to the last pod yet, although I will. I listened to all of them.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Hey, I listened to the one before that, before you.
It's fair.
Anyways.
Fair point. Anyways, what's any other big takeaways from the game?
No, I mean, this is such a young team. These are the kind of games that you do worry about. And so I think that the confidence that they built in Vegas is huge, and it showed, it carried over, and so I was really impressed with that, and I think it shows a very quick maturing of this group. Yeah.
I think my biggest takeaway is I think this is kind of shaping up to be a classic Mountain West season of haves and have-nots. You know, there was a slow start, and going to Fresno on a Wednesday after you just beat the number 6 team in the country, everything that happened in the first 14 minutes of that game was 100% predictable, but it shows how they broke away and imposed their talent in the second half. And again, I think this season is it's such a 1-tier, 2-tier with a lot of landmines at away games with teams that will be in the net 200s. Mm-hmm. And, we're going to have some tough road games, Utah State, Nevada, New Mexico, UNLV, so on and so forth. But with all of those comes, at least we came out at Fresno with the W. The Air Force, they look like they're in some deep trouble this Mountain West season. San Jose, it's just such a tiered league, and going to the 20 games. While from a conference standpoint, I get Glory Tavares' point for kind of going for all the teams, giving a little equity there, but for the top of the league, it just really screws the top of the league over.
Yeah, well, I mean, she doesn't give a shit about that anymore.
That's fair. I mean, not anymore. I mean, she should, though. She was the associate AD in the WCC that bends over backwards for Gonzaga, and, well, that didn't really help them that much either, so...
Yeah. No, you're right, though, and I think back to that point of every road win in the Mountain West is precious. Unfortunately, the altitude games don't play into the algorithm the way they used to for us, but we'll just got to keep grinding.
Yeah.
Proving ourselves.
All right. Let's get into the players, shall we?
Let's do it.
Who should we start with? Anybody we should start with this time?
Well, let me interject and say, let's give some credit where credit is due.
It is due. Magoon Unleashed, 25 points, 10 of 13 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3. Shut me up about my whole dip thing. That looked just fine last game. 10 boards, 2 blocks, and just a bunch of business decisions were made on Fresno's behalf because he was lurking there in the paint. This was... we talked about this with Jaden. This is the guy who we were kind of promised. Mm-hmm. And, we were kind of waiting for that. This is what we were promised with Magoon Unleashed coming out of last season, and it was spectacular.
It was spectacular. And, to your point before, like, we're not going to see this from him every game. But it was awesome to see it this game.
Yeah.
It was so fun. And what I really like about this team is that there's so much joy in the basketball. Like, even after, like, he did the heat check after, like, 2 made threes in a row, and he missed.
He made one of the heat checks, though, when he fired that thing on the wing.
Yeah, later in the game. There just were so many moments of these guys having fun playing basketball, and that has been a welcome shift for me, because we had a tough football season, and
even last basketball season was stressful. Coming back from the Final Four, core of that group there, the expectations were so high, and the way that has been unburdened off the program with the new guys is just like you can just it feels different.
Yeah,
right? It just feels
1,000%. And I think we might have talked every single podcast last season that we did about that pressure. And I think our hopes early this season were, what is this going to look like without it? And we're seeing that in performances like Magoon's.
It's funny because after the UCSD game, we kind of talked and said, man, like, he is raw, right? Like, we all knew he was raw, and, like, he was very raw and just, like, kind of got pushed around and seemed a little uncomfortable, and he airballed the 3, and then he made the other 3. And then he went through a gauntlet of Gonzaga, Creighton, Oregon, and Houston. And he came out the other side of that against an opponent that is not on the same level as the Aztecs and just kicked the crap out of them. And going through that gauntlet is looking, and one game of evidence so far is that, man, that was super beneficial to him to kind of, now he has seen what it means to be a big guy at that level. And he absorbed that energy and he absorbed those learnings and took it out on Fresno State.
Yeah. I mean, and all credit to our coaching staff who continue to put us in these early season difficult situations. We are better for it already. Yes, it'll benefit us in March, especially that we came out of that tournament on top better than we thought we would. And just that in-game experience is just so valuable.
There is something brewing here. There's something brewing here, and I love it. Like, there's something bubbling up under the surface here. And I think I just have it's one of those things where you just kind of have the feeling, like, I just kind of got the feeling that there's something real special here with this group.
I like that.
I don't know. Am I crazy?
No. I'll let it play out a little bit more. But I always like those vibes.
I will say, and we didn't mention this after the Houston game and after the Players era. Like, I meant to, and I half mentioned it here, is like the amount of business decisions he forces guys to make by the basket, though, is pretty extraordinary. Like, what he is, when he kind of shows up at the block and the way that, he's kind of always lurking down there, like, he causes guys to throw away the ball because all of a sudden they're like, whoa, like, oh, he's there to block it, and they kind of throw it away. And, like, he definitely makes some people make some real business decisions. And, it's just, he is looking to be the anchor of the defense more and more and more every game. And, I think that's going to be huge for the Aztecs this year.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it in more games and see how he builds upon this.
Yeah, and there's some good opportunities there to kind of build on his momentum, kind of going into that first tier of Mountain West play. I think the first Cal will be a tough game, and then we have Utah State. What is that?
Yeah, the 28th right after
December,
Christmas
right after
here.
Christmas.
That's a home game at least, so I think that'll be a good kind of first conference test. Utah State, once again, somehow, like, reloaded completely and is winning games. So.
There is something up there where that AD deserves a lot of credit for their basketball program. It's crazy.
I mean, another new coach and a brand new
staff.
roster.
Yeah,
it's nuts. Although Wyoming only lost to them by 3 yesterday.
Yeah, were they in Laramie?
No.
Oh, interesting.
Right. I know.
And then we got Boise right after. So, we'll get a little run up to those 2 games, and then, we'll continue to see the progress. But, man, it definitely looks like a hockey stick of positivity, just the up and up and up with this group so far. So
love it. Who else should we talk about?
All right, let's go. Who else do we have on the docket here? I think we should go to BJ Davis. BJ Davis was fantastic. 26 minutes. 5 of 10 from the field, only 1 for 4 from 3. He had 7 rebounds, 2 of 3 from the free throw line. I mean, he just continues just to be excellent. I love BJ Davis. I love everything about him. I love his demeanor. I just love BJ Davis. He's awesome. I love it.
The hustle from him is unparalleled. I mean, this whole team in that's culture have that, but there was a loose ball that he went after. He ended up like 7 rows up in the stands because he was just like full steam ahead trying to save the possession.
And the game was over.
Yeah, I think it was definitely not a close game at that point.
Yeah, Ziegler talked about that in his article, and he noted it about BJ Davis, and Dutch was like, that's just because we don't play to the score, we don't play to the team, we play to the standard.
Yep.
And that's BJ Davis playing to the standard, and that's a great quote from Dutch to Mark Ziegler in the UT.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
But this team, like, just what a find BJ. Like, nobody knew what was going to happen, right? Like, there was some whispers out of Swiss League, but that's glorified pickup, and it's good run, but like that's what it is. And for him to just then the UCLA thing came, and it's just he keeps coming. He was, a plus 17 in this game. I mean, the rebounding is the also thing that is ultra crazy to me. He is a wildly good rebounder.
Yeah, he flies in there. He always gets in this right spot where there's when there's kind of like a hard rebound that kind of bounces a little further out from the basket. He somehow like finagles himself in there and snatches it out of the air, and it's very cool. You say that, like, who would have thought this about BJ Davis and that it would turn into what it's been? And who would have thought it? BJ Davis himself.
That's true.
I've been following him on Instagram for a really long time. That guy, unwavering in his confidence, in his faith in himself, and his faith in his training. And I just think that's very cool to see. Obviously, it's got to be frustrating, sitting on the bench in a team like we had last year, playing behind guys like Jaden and Matt Bradley, and paid his dues, and look at him now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when you get the proper advice with the proper outlook on things, a team that just went to the Final Four, like, with the wrong attitude, he could have bailed really easily. And there are plenty of examples like that all over college basketball. And the fact that he didn't just shows that what he's thinking about and what his priorities are and understanding about laying a foundation to get himself better doesn't always necessarily have to revolve around playing time. As much as these guys want to play, and that's obviously it burns deep inside of them, like, he's got the right, I think he's got the right mindset to continue to improve himself, because it would have been very easy for him just to be like, peace, I'm out. Like, I didn't play, like, good luck, I'm out of here, like, see you later. Especially with Reese, like with the Reese situation, that didn't happen until late in the, until then it looked like he was coming off the bench. So like, it's just kudos to him to sticking to his process, and man, it's paying off.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, the last guy I have on the rundown before we kind of just freestyle is Wayne McKinney III. He had 16 minutes. He was 5 of 7 from the field, 2 for 2 from 3. He had 12 points. He was a team high plus 22 in 16 and a half minutes. There are some real shades of Darian Trammell with him, and I said this to Tron on the last show. It was just like, I didn't appreciate just like how, and I said this about Nick Boyd too, and Wayne McKinney. I kind of just kind of like, like, they'll be fine. Like, let's see the new guys. I love both of their games so much, and I love watching them play basketball. And I love watching Wayne McKinney play basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk a little bit about the UCSD game coming up in a bit, but I think we're super lucky to have snagged him. I think he's embraced his role kind of off the bench, which obviously you go from being on a team where you're a star to being a different type of contributor here, and I feel like he's kind of figuring that out. And same thing, like, you don't see him hanging his head. You don't see any lack of hustle. Like, my favorite play from him was when he intercepted that long pass.
Yeah, let's get him at wide receiver.
I literally said that. I was like, he looked like he should be playing on the football team with that grab out of the air. And just, fun to watch. And he stepped up when we needed to. Nick and Miles both contributed positively to this game, but neither one of them had, prototypical strong games for themselves. And next man up.
Who's the one you said other than Boyd?
Miles and Nick Boyd.
Oh, gotcha. I mean, and his story is so awesome. Like, I was at this thing last year at the San Diego Hall of Champions thing, and they honored him. And his story out of all the people they had up there was amazing, and you couldn't not like really appreciate the guy. And even when he was at UCSD, I remember coming home and I was telling you, I was just like, man, like that is a great guy with a great story. Like what a cool thing for him that he's playing basketball at home at USD Division I. And the fact that now he's on the Aztecs with us and we kind of get to share that with the rest of the city where this guy is this hometown hero is very cool.
Yeah, I love it. It'll be real fun this weekend.
That's going to be weird. we could talk about that when we do a good game preview, but
I'm sure the show is going to have some fun with it.
Yeah. Anybody else you want to talk about?
I mean, so my favorite established early season of this team, they're all favorites, right? Pharaoh Compton. The fact that he had 9 points in 10 and a half minutes of playing time to me is wild.
Plus 16 in 10 and a half minutes.
Plus 16. It just continues to kind of reinforce my hopes for him. He also picked up 4 fouls in that amount of time, so that's something to pay attention to. I mean, he's still kind of figuring out his physicality, and he's going toe-to-toe with these guys, and sometimes that means he's not doing it on the sly enough, kind of like with the fouls he picked up for some of those moving screens in Vegas. But I thought that was great. And I want to give an honorable mention to Taj DeGorville. Like, he's contributed. I mean, he played 22 minutes off the bench. I think that's incredible. And he's contributed in some quieter ways, but his
passing's sick.
Is so good.
Yeah.
I think every single game I've had some comment on some like perfectly crisp, precise pass that he's made. And, some of those fundamentals go underappreciated in basketball, and this team is just firing on those cylinders.
This team's got some sick passers. Miles Bird's a sick passer.
Yeah.
Jared Coleman-Jones is a good passer at the post. It's interesting. It's still just so crazy. Like you talk about Pharaoh and then Taj DeGorville. Pharaoh was the first guy off the bench. Taj has the 6th most minutes. When was the last time Dutch coached a team like the Fab Five? The last time he played freshman like that? It's such a pivot, and it shows just like how big a studs those guys are. Especially, could you imagine playing Pharaoh? Pharaoh Compton was a senior in high school last year. That's wild. Like, could you imagine go to some high school game and like Pharaoh Compton's dunking on a bunch of some guy that's like a 6'2" center for like your local high school?
I would have loved to see it.
I mean, it's crazy.
I'm very glad he picked us. I'm glad they both picked us. I think there's something to say about their chemistry as roommates, and I hope that plays into, really as long a term situation we can earn with them.
Yeah, for sure. I just want Miles Bird, again, excellent. He had 9 points, 10 boards.
Ooh, that's good.
Had a really nice 3 in the first half. That it was kind of close, and he hit kind of a bomb of a 3. That kind of just that was what set the snowball in motion, I thought. Nick Boyd, 1 for 10 from the field. He didn't have a great game, but he's still the general out there, and that man never wavers in confidence.
And he didn't miss a single free throw, which is something that, is a great behavior to model for his teammates right now. 4 for 4.
The free throw shooting is definitely concerning. I mean, they're shooting 65% from the free throw line this year, which is 317th in the country.
Oof.
The part about it that is kind of glass half full is they never get to the line. So it's not like they're missing a ton of free throws. Their percentage isn't very good, but their lack of getting to the free throw line is, I would like to see that a little bit more, but I'd like to see that number tick up a little bit. But, if they were shooting 40 free throws a game, they were shooting 65%, that is a much bigger story than, they had 17 free throws in this game. So,
yeah.
But yeah, anybody else, or are we moving on here?
DeMarshe Johnson, 4 points, 2 for 2.
Should have had 5, and he missed it on 1.
I know. I always just root for him to win the game. I like him.
He just, another man who's very sure of himself in the moment, and he loves rolling for the lob, and he's good at it.
I enjoy it.
All right, let's move to our favorite play of the game. Let's run the highlights back. Carly, what was your favorite play of the game from this one?
I think it was the first 3 that Magoon hit.
Okay.
And I don't even distinctly remember it that much, but it changed the commentary on the broadcast because all of a sudden it was like, oh, he's this big tall guy, he's long and lengthy, and he's gonna block shots, cool. And then I think people will underestimate a big man like that. Like, you're 7 feet tall. Like, do we really expect you to make threes? Like, that's a special combination. So when he does it and his shot looks silky, like in those moments, I feel like I really enjoy people being like, oh.
The one that he shot so confidently on the wing, that was kind of a heat check. I was like, okay, there's a quick release. Like, that's what I want to see. Like, once he kind of made that first one, he stopped thinking as much and just played to his instincts and just let his talent take over, which is, that happened. Like, that was his 7th game of the season, right? Or 7th game ever, like, in college. Like, he was going to have some moments where he was kind of thinking out there, but man, once he hit that one, it just seemed to just stop thinking and just play.
Yeah, I like it. What about you?
My favorite play of the game was, it was in the beginning of the second half, and we missed a shot, and Magoon just plucked that offensive rebound over the Fresno guy like he was in middle school, and then dunked it on him and got the and one. That was hilarious. And I think, like, as we go through the second tier of, when we played like that second tier of the Mountain West, and we're playing at hard places where shots maybe not going, like, that's the recipe. When we're playing against an Air Force center that's 6'8", and shots aren't falling in Colorado Springs or whatever, like, just throw the ball up to Magoon and let him kind of just use his size and athleticism and get some easy ones. Like, and I think what we saw from the Aztecs, in the last 30 minutes of the game, or whatever it is, whatever the math it turns out, like, of just him kind of dominating, and using his size, like, I think that's kind of the recipe when you go into these landmine zones like San Jose State, like Air Force, like, all of those types of places where we're going to really outman them from a length perspective. Like, and I just thought it was funny because it was just such a, like, nope, I'm going to grab this from right on top of you and I'm going to dunk it on top of you.
Yeah.
Like, it was so funny and it was great.
I remember that one now. Well, in general, I feel like the second chance points were such a concern in some of those, the Oregon game in particular. And so clearly some coaching at play and a little more focus on getting those opportunities and capitalizing. So I like it.
Okay, Carly. Well, now we're on to our Homer and Hater segment. And just as a friendly reminder to all of our listeners, Homer and Hater is an irrational take both on the positive and the negative side. Remember, it's irrational. It's just, it's just a take we're throwing out in the wind. So don't take it too personally if you disagree. We're just going with our heart. We're going with what's on our sleeve here. Carly, give me your Homer.
My Homer, okay, I kind of have two, and they're both really stupid.
Do you have two Homers instead of just one?
No, I have.
Because that's your usual. That's your usual move.
I also have a hater.
Do you? Oh.
It is of my normal brand of hater, but still, I thought of something.
It's hard to have a hater, though, when you win by 20, but I get it.
It's not about this game. Oh, actually, it kind of is.
You're such a cheater in the game. You're such a cheater in the game.
Anyways.
Go ahead.
My two homers are, one, I can't remember a time when the Aztecs have ever had two future NBA players on the team, and I think we have that in this moment in time.
We might have more than that.
Fair. And, like, wow. I just, like, thinking about the potential that's on that court is so impressive to me.
Who's your two?
Magoon and Farrow.
Interesting. See, that's why that is more. Because my first thought was Magoon and Bird.
Interesting. Yeah, you're right. I'm discounting that, but Miles Bird, absolutely. Like, I think you're right. Okay, so maybe three, and I wouldn't discount maybe some future potential of Taj.
Oh, that's definitely the other one for me. And then there's also Reese Waters, who's a prototypical 3-and-D guy.
Fair enough.
Like,
do we have 5 NBA players?
Potentially, like, for sure. I mean, BJ Davis.
What are we, Kentucky? JK. Okay.
I mean.
So my other homer is that we're pretty much the number one team in the country, right? Because Creighton beat Kansas, and so transverse property. Nope, that's not.
Transitive wins.
Transitive wins. That's what I was looking for. Totally, stole that from Twitter, but I think it is.
I'm pretty sure you stole that from our friend Fiend.
Fiend, did I steal that from you? If so, kudos. It's totally true though. Like, I think those are the really fun metrics, and why I love college basketball so much is because watching this unfold, like nobody thought Creighton was just going to slide into the depths of college basketball this season after what was a very rough players era tournament for them.
I actually thought they were going to slide further because remember after Maui when they didn't have a great Maui and they lost like 6 in a row or whatever.
I forgot all about that.
I thought that's what was going to happen to them, and man, talk about a rebound.
You have such a good memory. Yeah, well, anyways, that and paying attention to some of the other games out there, I think is just fun, and I think that Oregon is going to be on the upswing, and I'm just excited to kind of see how all this plays out. So those are my 2 homers. What's yours?
My homer is that I think this might be the most explosive team in San Diego State history.
Explosive, that's very specific.
Is there...
Because I said exciting as a homer earlier this season, but explosive is specific. Okay.
I mean... Look at all the blocks they're getting, which, you know, on my hater last week I may have had some issue with, but whatever. They get all these blocks. Is there, other than McKinney, is there a guy that can't dunk? I bet you McKinney could. I don't know. Like, I'd love to see McKinney try to get a dunk in a game.
I'm sure he has dunked, and I'm sure he physically can do it, but I don't know that he'll do it in the game.
Physically can do it, like, in an empty gym, but, like, you know, everybody can throw lobs. You know, they had this beautiful alley-oop where Farrow set a side screen to Miles Bird. Miles Bird came off of the screen, caught the ball at the elbow, and then threw the lob to Farrow as the roller. I mean, that's just beautiful ball movement with a thunderous dunk at the end. Like, that's exciting. Like, what other, like, maybe 2011? Maybe Kawhi, Malcolm Thomas, Billy White. Like, maybe that team was, you know, like, you know, my history is obviously a little stunted of just, like, I go back to 2005, basically. But, like, is there another team that's as explosive as this group that's jumping through the ceiling like this group in the Dutch Fisher era?
Not that I can remember.
And if someone, here's one, throw it out at us. I'd love to hear them. But, man, I think this is the most explosive, biggest bunnies group that we have seen in kind of this Dutch Fisher era.
I like it. And it's a young team, so some of that will get better.
Yeah.
In theory.
I mean, even BJ Davis got up and got one. I mean, the way he blocked that one on when he came back was awesome.
Who wants to hear my hate?
All right. It's not even a real hater. I don't know why. I should just scrap it when it's me and you. But.
I mean, I'll just keep coming up with these terrible ones until you do. I don't like having haters.
Well, you gotta push you outside your comfort zone.
Okay, so my hater for this episode is, remember the entire season where Matt Mitchell lost 20 pounds was like the tagline?
And Yanni Wetzel played tennis.
Yep.
Fisher.
We had a whole list of all the things.
Let's go through them, though. Let's see. Fisher gave out free tickets.
Yanni Wetzel used to play tennis.
Matt Mitchell lost 20 pounds. Penny the puppy.
Oh, that was a big one.
Remember Matt Bradley's Penny the puppy? Mm-hmm. There's got to be more. Why can't I think of it?
Those are the major ones.
Yeah, those are the major ones.
And that was the 3 of those are from a year when we got probably the most national attention until the Final Four season. But anyways, we have a new one. I don't like it. I feel sad about it. And it's the Nick Boyd was the guy that Lamont Butler shot the shot over. We've heard it on every commentary every game that I've watched on TV this season. I don't want that for Nick. I mean, it's an iconic moment in Aztec basketball history. We will always love Lamont for that moment. I think it's actually very cool that we have the frame photo of that happening, and I'm dying to get Nick Boyd to sign our copy. So we have this kind of like weird scoregami of who would have thought, like current Aztec, past opponent, how the tables shift. It's just so interesting to me. But anyways, I'm going to be so sick and tired of hearing that by the end of this season. Like, I can't even. It's like the 4th or 5th game we've watched on TV, and I'm already over it. Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, why did, it's just like, yes, did Nick Boyd kind of pull a Kevin Durant and join the Warriors? a little bit. You can, but...
and welcome.
Yeah, and welcome. We love you. I mean, he's a dog, man. I love Nick Boyd. Like, he's an Aztec. But, like... we don't need to keep throwing it out that, he was on the other side of the most iconic play in school history there.
Yeah. I will say, one of the silver linings of Lamont's new situation is how much they talk about the Aztecs on the national stage now, because every time they talk about him and what he's doing at Kentucky, which he's been fantastic, is talking about how he got there.
It's been good marketing.
It's definitely been really good.
It's been very good marketing. And for him to go to basketball grad school at Kentucky and kind of shine in the way that he is, and the way that it's good for everybody involved. It really is. Like, I'm not sad about how anything turned out. We love Lamont, Aztec for life, biggest shot in his school program history, and it's all kind of working out. Like, I'm not sad about it. I'm happy for everybody involved. Well,
and especially I think too, we're in this early part of the season, but we're seeing what's next. If we were 0-8 or whatever and struggling to find an identity, but we're ranked in the top 25.
I did see Micah Parrish score 15 for Ohio State as they beat a ranked team. Like, yeah, that would be a different story for sure. Like, but we've talked about this a couple different times where it's just like we talked even earlier in this episode, is just like the burden was lifted when those guys left. The expectation. It's just like it was a new group. The page was turned, and like. That's what happens in college basketball. You get 4 to 5 years to play college basketball, and the eras have to turn over. Like, that's just the way it's designed. And, the way that this kind of worked out for the Aztecs, I think is kind of the best case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it's created space on this team for some of these young guys to really shine. And for some of them, the 3 true freshmen that are getting meaningful minutes. Well, yeah, Magoon's, I guess, not technically a true freshman since he redshirted, but still. Those guys getting meaningful minutes.
3 guys that never played a college basketball game before the season.
And BJ Davis, who played, cumulative 12 minutes last year. Like, for all of that to be in play and for them to be having this early success is just really awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, that was a hater that turned into a super homer gush fest. Exactly what I intended.
You play your role on this. You're in our roster, and you play it perfectly.
Well,
All right. My hater is just that this matchup of Fresno State and San Diego State, if it's not ugly for at least a large part of it, like, that's just the way this goes, and this game's just going to look pretty crappy. And it's just going to be ugly and a bricklayer fest. And that's just the way it goes. And, like, meh. It's just ugly. It's just determined to be ugly.
It's funny because I credited the last few years of that to Justin Hudson and, him being that coach that, had our inside track to be able to, defend us in ways other teams just absolutely couldn't. But lo and behold, Fresno has a new coach and it was the same shit.
Well, for 15 minutes. But the one thing that was interesting is, you could tell the talent disparity. And Fresno's got good players, obviously, at Division I. But, they were running up and down. They were trying to play so fast, and the Aztecs just wore them down. There were points at the end of that game where they were just kind of ugh. And Magoon was, sprinting up the court and getting dunks.
I think they ran out of gas in the first half. And, the fact that it was as close as it was at halftime, to me, was a little fluky because at that point I had already kind of seen, I felt like Fresno was done. They gave us their punch, and I didn't feel like they really had much left to do.
Yeah, I hear it. All right, so anything else before we start looking a little bit forward? Do you have anything looking back?
No, I mean, great game, exactly what we were supposed to do, take care of business, on to the next.
Let me just tell you, I'd much rather would have that been the Cal game instead of doing this early in the Mountain West. But
I know. This being a conference game is not fun.
18 months away from the Pac-12. Nobody's counting. All right. Moving forward. All right. So the Aztecs are 37th in KenPom now, and they catapulted, trademark John Schaefer, to 43 in the net from 60. Thank you, Creighton, for putting a whooping on Kansas, which helped that. The next game is Saturday at home against USD, 7 p.m. locally on YourView. I'm sure our friend John Schaefer is calling that one on television. It's also, if you're not here locally in San Diego, we'll be on the Mountain West Network. Again, Mountain West doesn't do a lot great, the Roku app is awesome. So if you have a Roku or an Amazon Fire Stick TV, they have a little channel tile on there, and it's actually pretty easy to use. So check that out if you need it. There is a Courtyard pregame that I believe opens 3 hours, 2 hours.
Well, let's call it 2 to be safe.
Let's call it 2 to be safe. Where they got a beer garden, Pop-A-Shot, all the stuff out in front of Viejas. Kind of sucks that the game is so late and it'll be dark when it opens.
I was going to say, I wonder if they're going to do lighting or something, because it's not.
It's not like the most lit area.
No, interesting. Maybe they'll make it feel a little more festive.
They need some like heat lamps, because it's going to be cold.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, looking forward, what makes you nervous about this one?
I mean, I think as with any of these kind of crosstown-ish games, there's always that dynamic of, they have nothing to lose, so we're going to get everything they got, and, we kind of have everything to lose because these kinds of games are landmines for us on the schedule.
They are 300th in KenPom.
Yeah, that's not good. I don't know much about USD this year. I mean, whatever I knew about them from the last year was literally Wayne McKinney, and now he's on our team. So I think it's fun to try to think about building a crosstown rivalry. I actually wonder if UCSD is in a better position to be a competitive partner to us for that in this modern era than USD is. But
UCSD is a way better partner. We shouldn't play any of them at their court ever.
Yeah.
And we should pay them to come to us, however much it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair.
I mean, USD's best win is against our old friends at BU.
Huh.
And something called Marion. I don't know what that is. Is that a school? Must be a school.
They would assume so.
Their last game was against Arizona State, and they lost by 37.
Okay.
So, they play Chris Akron, Long Beach State, right after us.
Oh, that'd be fun to watch.
That's at home. We should go to that.
Yeah, let's do it. Anyways, I think this is a little bit of a fun story. Obviously, Wade McKinney is the villain in their version of it, and so they're probably gonna bring a lot of fans. And I don't know how they felt about that whole situation. I can't imagine it felt great.
Do you think they have a message board?
Oh,
I think there's a USD Toreros message board somewhere where
their
there's
version of the Aztec Mesa or whatever that one was back in the day.
That's still thriving, by the way.
Is it? I removed myself from some of those dialogues.
Our friend Bill, he was telling me that he'll go promo stuff on there.
Oh, well, if you like it, enjoy it. I don't know if USD has that vibe to me.
You think there's a vitriol Facebook group with 50 people in it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like every school has one.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I mean, they're Division I.
I don't know. Anyways, it's an interesting time of year. I feel like the USD kids are probably all studying for their finals, so they're probably not going to travel too heavy across the 8 to come up to Viejas. On the flip side of that, as I mentioned earlier, I could see the show doing something fun around we stole Wayne McKinney from you.
Yeah. This being that they're going to throw everything they have at us is what makes me nervous. Their metrics are just brutal across the board. There's nothing other than, I mean, they are shooting 25% they're shooting worse from 3 than Fresno does this season.
Oh no.
And the way to beat us is if you're just going to bomb a bunch of threes, and maybe they, if they regress back to the mean a little bit and go 15 of 30 from 3, that's how they're going to beat us. I don't think that's going to happen. I think what makes me optimistic here is where we could fall asleep at the wheel at one of these types of games because of Wade McKinney. They're not going to let that happen.
Yeah, that's totally fair. It's he has a personal stake in having a good showing.
It's like LeBron going to play the Cavs when he first was in Miami. They were not going to let him lose that game.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one major motivator here. I think so I don't think they're going to let them lose this game. I wouldn't also be shocked if Wayne McKinney is 3 for 13 if he's pressing a little bit. That would be totally natural, And so I hope he goes off and he's 8 for 8, but don't be surprised if they're trying to feed him the ball and he's feeling, and he kind of is a little inefficient, but
I also wonder if there's any sort of kind of weird feeling around I don't imagine our starting lineup is going to change, right? So Wayne McKinney is coming off the bench for our team, and that's such a shift that I wonder if his former teammates are having any sort of judgy.
No, I don't think so because his NIL deal is better. So none of his actual teammates probably truly care.
True. They want him to go and do his
And
thing.
secondly, when you see the nationally ranked next to their name, like, what are you going to do, right?
Right.
Your NIL is
Six
better.
man on a nationally ranked team that
just went to
has the
Sweet
history
That's
we
been to
have.
2 Sweet 16s in a row. Like, you see it when these guys transfer. Like, they just want what's best for them. I never think the teammates really hold it against them. I mean,
It's just the fans.
it's just the fans. And maybe there's a couple where, like, if it was like a broken promise, like, yeah, man, I'm staying, and then like the next, but like, I can't imagine, like, you see when these guys go in the portal for all these sports, they all pump them up. They just want them to be happy. It's really just the fans.
Yeah, fair. I think it'll be a fun one. I think it's been a while, right, since we've played this matchup.
Yeah, after we lost to them at Petco Park, they kind of squad douched that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
All right, before we go, you got anything to plug?
No, I mean, I think, like, we're in the thick of it. Basketball season, we'll start to kind of see how things shake out. I know the early deadline for football season ticket renewal has passed, but
Just the early stuff.
There's still some time. I've actually seen some interesting, good energy, and we're kind of starting to hear some buzz about some of our fan favorites that we might see next year. And so I'm going to keep my eternal optimist attitude, keep supporting the collectives, keep supporting all of these opportunities these guys are.
And for supporting the collective, we're recording this on a Thursday night. Happy birthday to my guy, Jack Powers, who is one of the correspondents for We Believe Network. He is the man. He is going to call a Super Bowl one day. So
I hope
Jack,
he invites you when that happens.
I do too. I may have told him that he has to. I may have already told him that.
Plant the seed. We got some cool young talent involved with our stuff with Aztec Link.
Yeah.
It's just been, fun.
Support the collectives. Buy a jersey, buy sunglasses, go to Nova, go to Broken Yoke.
If you bought that stuff, wear it. Wear it this weekend. Can't wait to see it.
And if you've done all that stuff, thank you so much. The ecosystem needs it. Like, I think we're about to get a pretty big... I read so much on this stuff because, we're obviously a little involved, and, like, I think there's a pretty seismic shift coming to how some of all this stuff goes down, but... until then, just keep going with the status quo because it's what we have right now, and just keep doing the thing and keep supporting the Aztecs. And I got a good feeling about it. This season has gotten fun.
It got fun fast. I will say something too about the players era in terms of NIL. Like, we didn't go this year. It's Thanksgiving. That's tricky for some people.
I would be down to go next year. It sounded awesome.
I think next year we need to show out, because one of the things that I was reading about some of these, I think it was in one of the Facebook's group, our old friend Ken Licati, really interesting kind of take on where some of these MTEs are going, and Players Era needs fans to show up to be sustainable.
Yeah.
So to be able to put the amount of money into NIL to get those teams, like, if people aren't buying tickets and going to these things, those are going to be hard.
Only so much the UAE is going to front on that that part.
We don't ask where the money comes from.
Oh, it's out there.
But so I think that's something that I'm looking forward to, like, supporting that for a different reason, like showing up for that and getting.
And part of that is the access, right? That's part of the value proposition of the Players Era. It's like, hey, they don't get paid to play in the games; they get paid to do appearances and take pictures and sign autographs and meet your kids and all that kind of cool stuff.
Yeah, love it.
All right, anything else?
No, looking forward to this weekend back in Viejas.
Yeah, Saturday. Come say hi. We're in Section U if you see us. But with that, this has been another episode of the Aztec Breakdown Podcast. Again, my name is Austin Bolton, and you can follow me on socials at It's Austin Bolton. And co-hosting with me tonight is my wife, Carly House Bolton. You can follow her at Car McGee. But until next time, go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs.
On the floor, it's Butler with 2 seconds. He's got to put it up, and he wins it. He wins it with the jumper.
Mitchell's feeling it. Now he's feeling it even more. What it do, Matt Mitchell? Shackle to Flynn for the win. It's good! Malachi Flynn! Over the rim.
2 to go. Butler has to put it up for the win. Butler sticks it at the buzzer. And a steal. Darion Trammell will coast in for the layup.
Franklin with 2 seconds forces the shot. It's good. The Aztecs advance. They've won it on the shot by the player of the
Miller, he put it behind his back. It's taken away by Butler. Lob it up. Lob it down. Big finish. Keyshawn Johnson.
Now we have tasted it. We're coming back. We're coming back.